There we go.
So, everybody, welcome to Beginner's Guide to Content Creation Brand Management. I'm Jason Patrick Gallett. I'm also known as JPG in the pop culture space. I'm a pop culture educator and consultant, and I own the consultancy firm InterMyth, which offers tailored strategies for pop culture content creation, specializing in brand management, live event management like panels like here at WonderCon. Big shout out, thank you again for WonderCon for having me another year as well too. So I'm very, very excited to get to do another course for y'all. You've come to this panel for the following reasons. You create something in the pop culture space, you're hoping to define your brand, and you're willing to wake up pretty early on a Sunday morning in order to learn all of this at this point. You know. I don't know if Andrew's awake at this point, but...
I'm only here so I don't get fined.
Well, we're here to answer some questions, like what is a personal and or professional brand? Why do I need a brand? And what can a brand do for me? This, on top of other questions we were going to be talking about today, with this lovely panel. And I do want to have our panelists introduce themselves right now. I'm going to start at the very end with Alix Catherine.
Oh, I have to go first?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I get to go last. Hi, everybody. My name is Alix Catherine. I am the host of The Welcome Party. It's an introductory show for pop culture. I also moderate a lot of panels, so you'll see me all over programming this year. I think this is my 4th panel this weekend. And yeah, and pretty much I'm just hanging out in the pop culture space and having a good time with everybody.
Patrick.
Hi, how's it going? Okay. My name is Patrick Ballesteros, or Ballesteros. You could do either, I don't care. I am an illustrator and educator. I've done work for, not name dropping, just so you know who I am. I'm name dropping.
No, Patrick, I need you to name drop, so it gives this legitimacy.
I was like, well, this is who I work for. No, Disney, Netflix, DC Comics, Blur Studios, a bunch of different things. So yeah, I do a whole bunch of stuff.
Cynthia, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. I'm Cynthia Marie. I'm a TTRPG enthusiast and content creator. I am on a couple of different shows, LA by Night and New York by Night, which is a Vampire the Masquerade live action or live stream game. Otherwise, I do a couple of other guesting. On social medias, I'm actually mostly known for being a mental health advocate and now a cancer surviving advocate. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's kind of my brand.
Another special thanks to Cynthia as well, too. She actually filled in last minute for a panelist that was supposed to be here as well. So thank you again for the help for this.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Andrew, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew J. Alandy. I'm also known as Duralath. If you are into fighting games, I'm part of the fighting game community. I'm a commentator. I commentate mainly for Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I'm the lead commentator for the Jazzy Circuits, the premier tournament series for Third Strike in North America. I was also one of the commentators for Evolution 2024, which is one of the world's largest fighting game tournaments, happens every summer. Beyond that, I'm also a tabletop RPG personality, and I've also gotten into Magic the Gathering as well. So I've had my hand in a couple of different arenas. I'm also an event host. I've been a host at many conventions such as Anime Expo, Anime Los Angeles, Holiday Matsuri, just to name a few. And I guess I got my hand in a lot of different cookie jars, so kind of all over the place.
And last but not least, with her very first panel ever.
Yes.
Samantha, if you won't mind.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha K. I'm a producer, writer, and I just directed my very first short film. And yeah, I currently work as a programs coordinator at Evan Goldberg's entertainment nonprofit called Real Start, where I produce short films with studios and with Evan and teach high schoolers how to make a film.
Samantha also won a very prestigious award pretty recently.
Yeah. Oh yes, I did. I produced a short film for Real Star. It's called Tree's Blood, and we won gold for the 2024 Anthem Awards.
Actually, that's so funny. That was not the award I was talking about.
Oh my god.
Didn't you win a 30 under 30?
I did. My alumni, they're awarding me 30 under 30, so I'll be flying to Philly next week.
When you just have so many awards, it's hard to keep track of it.
Yeah, I was like, that's never happened to me before, where I was like, yeah, talk about this award. oh, that's an award I was not thinking of.
Oh,
Well, now that you've met all of our subject matter experts, we're going to be moving into the questions portion. And the very first question that I always like to ask is, what the heck is a brand, right? I have a definition for y'all, but I did want to hear from our panelists first. Panelists, and starting with Alix, what do you think having a brand means to you?
So the best way I can explain a brand is that your brand walks into the room before you do. Because if your name comes up, oh, Alix Catherine is coming to the party, or Alix Catherine is going to be on the panel, there's already a thought in your head of who that person is, and to me, that's your brand. And so often we've seen it from companies and all these commercial works, right? And it shifted with social media to personal brands. So we're now seeing these personal brands tied in with our business brands, and so either one can walk in the room before you, and both can have an impact on who you are and how people see you or perceive you. I'll pass it over to you.
Any follow-up? Are we playing popcorn right now? Let's. Andrew, I'm gonna go for you next, if you don't mind, right? Especially because a lot of your brand has to do with both hosting and in fighting games, which are both very front-facing sort of positions. So, what does having a brand mean to you?
It's recognizability. There's the old adage: your reputation precedes you. So when people talk about you when you're not in the room, it's that recognizability, and it's not just the name, but it's also the things that you've accomplished, the things that you've done that stuck with people, and they remember you for that. Where it's created that long-lasting impression. That impression now speaks volumes for the present and the future.
And Samantha, especially being both a filmmaker in your own right and also as teaching the next generation of filmmakers, what do you think having a brand means to you?
For me, it's of course who you are, but it's also your values too and what you stand for. Especially as a filmmaker, if you're like doing an Indiegogo, you're fundraising or something like that, you're asking people, why should they care about your project and why should they care in your services. So it's all about, I think, in who you are and your values.
Cynthia, I'm coming to you next with another question, but I did want to give the definition that I personally use for a brand. It's a product or service that has a unique and immediately recognizable identity, right? So it's a consolidation of the perception built around you without the baggage of positive or negative association or anything like that. So this is going to be communicated through both verbal and nonverbal ways. So we have to put thought into not only what we are saying, but what we are saying as well, right? Cynthia, my next question for you, we've talked a little bit about your mental health and your health advocacy for a while. So now, when it came to building your brand, especially around that, how did you decide on what was the right brand for you?
Right. So I started off with mental health advocacy because it was actually something very near and dear to my heart, and I have anxiety and panic disorder, and I kind of wanted to write. It originally started off with me writing my own love letter to myself and a reminder to keep going and keep pushing, and I didn't realize how many other people actually needed those kind of love notes as well. So it kind of evolved into this not a trend, but essentially a hashtag anxiety warriors, and so many other people wanting to join that kind of mission. And then when I was diagnosed with colon cancer 2 years ago, it kind of morphed into, again, that love note that I wanted to keep writing to myself, to keep pushing and be a warrior for those who are enduring cancer. I've actually helped 3 or 4 of my friends with my posts about cancer because they were able to go get themselves checked out, based on the symptoms that I talked about, because mine were actually unseen for colon cancer specifically. So I was actually able to help some people with kind of just pushing forward with where I wanted to go with my messaging.
To follow up on that for you, do you feel like your brand before and your brand after, do you feel that there's similarities with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, health advocacy and health advocacy is kind of the same thing, is that you kind of have a mishmash of different people. I think as long as it's personal to you, it really helps to push that brand and that messaging forward, in my opinion. I will say, before the mental health stuff happened, I was doing mostly all TTRPG and dance type stuff. So I think it morphed from that to the health advocacy. And I think there's a maturity difference, in my opinion, that I got to actually put forward instead.
Yeah, you know, we talk about this a lot in brand management, where brand management is an evolution, right? It's an evolution that, I use that word specifically because once you decide on your brand, there are less and less examples of being able to outright change your brand, because your brand starts at a place and there is an evolution. Rebranding is always a really tough process. So it is a culmination or an amalgamation of your successes and your failures of whatever you've gotten to try to put out there. Patrick, I'm coming for you. Lastly, with working in a visual medium, who are your brand idols? Like, who did you look up to? Who influenced your work in order to get your work to where it is now?
So, I came up in the art world like right when the internet, YouTube was kind of getting there. So a lot of it was you work in your cave, and that's it. So as a creative artist, illustrator, I think I got to exposed to different artists, and so that's what I was looking at first, not necessarily as a brand, but oh, that artist is awesome, I like that style, I like this style. So it turned out to more styles. When I started getting into conventions and Comic-Cons, and I want to give you all something actionable since this is like a beginner's guide, what I did was I went at cons just as an attendee and I would walk around the tables to see what are people selling. Not the copy, but okay, what's moving? How are people interacting with with customers, with people walking up to them? That's one of the most important things, and I think that's kind of where I started to figure out, okay, don't cross your arms, don't do this, talk to people. The number one thing, and you know, Ted Lasso says this also, is be curious. You stop them with your artwork. They're already like, oh, cool, there's your art. And that's what I was looking at when I was thinking of brand styles. What makes me stop? What stands out? Because when you're out there in Artist Alley, you see a sea, and if it all starts to look the same, I need to not do that. I need to kind of do my own thing, my variation, right? So that's what I would do, is I would sit there and be like, okay, you know, little notes, or I would just talk to artists, support them, because I'm asking them questions, taking their time, but then it's kind of reciprocal, and then I become, you know, fans and supporters of them. And that's what I try to do when I'm in Artist Alley right now, is model myself after those people that I saw in Artist Alley, whether it be a big booth or a small booth. I went to the ones that didn't see me as a number, as a customer, as a monetary figure, but as a person that, oh, let's talk, what do you like? I like that. So the brands that I aligned myself were brands that, or people, artists that, oh, they were fans of the stuff that they were doing, so I could geek out and talk with them. And that's what I do now, is if I'm gonna create something or do something that is based around a certain fandom, I better damn well make darn well make sure, sorry kid, that I'm a fan of it as well, so that I can put those Easter eggs, so I could talk to them, oh yeah, did you see that? Oh yeah, it was so cool, da 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 da. And that's what connects you more. We're all looking for that connection. So if you're faking it, you feel it right away, like, oh, okay, thanks, gonna go away. So that's kind of when they talk about authenticity or being genuine, just kind of be genuine to the things that you like, and you're gonna engage and find those same people.
I'm going to jump on that too, because that authenticity is literally what went into my brain when we were kind of talking about this. Because as each person is kind of talking about what they love and what they represent, it really is what creates the foundation for your brand. You know, our podcast is literally an introduction to pop culture. And that's because I felt like I was running into gatekeeping and I couldn't get into pop culture. Everywhere I tried, everywhere I turned, it was like, oh, you don't already know this thing? Oh, you're a woman, you can't like that thing. And so I kept running into all these walls, and so I wanted to create a space where other people didn't feel the way I felt. We were talking about clothing earlier. My brand is being comfy and cute and whatever it is, but really it's because I'm self-conscious about my own body, and this is a way that I can come out confidently in a way that covers the pieces that I need to cover. So I took my own personal pieces and created a brand from it, instead of trying to dress up as somebody I'm not and then not feeling good about myself. So there's so many ways that you can take who you are and the pieces you love and really create your brand around what's important to you or what makes you feel good.
Yeah, can I jump on that one too?
Please.
So you made two great points that I wanted to kind of expound upon, one of which was finding finding the space that you want to populate and make better. For me, with my health advocacy, I started doing research when I got diagnosed. So like I was so scared of everything that was happening. So when I got diagnosed, I started doing research on social media to like try to find other people who've had similar stories. And everywhere it was, oh, you're gonna die. Oh, you're gonna do this. Oh my God, this is terrible. Oh, and I was just like, is there anyone out there that's positive about anything here? And so that's kind of where my brand started evolving, was because I was so tired of people saying negative things about cancer survivorship. So I started kind of pushing the more positive side. And it's hard, like in cancer talk, it's hard to be positive sometimes, but having somebody, a voice out there to be positive about that particular brand, it kind of like helps. So to bring back to your point, finding that niche that you may need to fulfill is probably going to be very helpful for your brand. Secondly, on clothing. So I was a dancer back in the day. Actually, part of my brand is called Sin Dancer. People always ask me, like, do you still dance? No, I don't anymore because I have neuropathy. But anyways, side story. One of the best lines that I was ever told by my dance teacher is, you are your own walking business card. And this was, before social media ever happened, right? And so it's kind of what you were saying about your artwork and your illustration, like what makes people stop as a visual person or as a visual physical character or TTRPG streamer, content creator. Your own physicality is your business card. So the way you show up and the way you look, people are going to recognize and remember that. So for me, for a long time when I was doing TTRPGs, people know me as Vampire Mom, Mom Tish or whatever. So I had to kind of dress in that kind of like gothy style to kind of, so that people recognize and remember who I was. I'm not that. I'm super bubbly pink girl, like super excited and everything. So morphing it into now this new health advocacy branding, I'm changing back to who my roots are, like wearing pink all the time, like being poppy, bubbly and stuff like that. And so when I say this is because you look across the board of like how everybody's kind of dressed. If you go look on our social medias, those of us who are more like physically or forward presenting, you're gonna start seeing we all look kind of similar. Like Jason, for example, you're always in a suit, man, like always looking fabulous.
Very good
It's
suits,
not by
too.
choice. I'm very short, and this is how people recognize me at conventions.
But
He has
notice,
a suit collection.
I do have a suit collection, yes.
Notice what he said. This is what people recognize me in. So recognizability, that's a word. Is what you're shooting for. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
At least from a physical or forward presenting medium. So I guess remember that. Yeah.
I'm really glad that y'all brought up the idea of authenticity as well, too, because that's actually our next point. So with brand authenticity, this is going to be working as a cycle for you, right? Your brand is going to be representing the values that you want to represent. Those values fuel your content, and your content fuels your fans in order to make sure that they are representing those same values, right? So I'm gonna challenge the panel, and this is a little, I'm sorry, I'm giving y'all homework, and I'm very sorry about this. I want you,
Man.
It's a Sunday morning.
so don't worry, there are examples, I got your back, all right? So I'm gonna challenge my panel to think about one short sentence to tell to the audience that is an absolute outright lie, okay? This is going to be something so laughable that our audience, most of which have just met us in the last 18 minutes, knows it could never be associated with you. And as a courtesy, I'm going to start this exercise. I built a sentence, and by the way, this exercise is called the laughable lie. All right. A couple years ago, I taught this course here at WonderCon, and I called it the doppelganger. It was the idea that there are two of you. One of you is a doppelganger, but that doppelganger knows nothing about you, so they say the absolute most wrong thing about you. All right? So this is called Laughable Lie. This is the exercise, and I have a few examples on the list right now. Who wants to go first to hear theirs?
What the heck?
I'll go.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. So, Cynthia, the sentence I put for you is, I don't think it's ever worth talking about your adversities publicly.
Oh, yeah. That's so silly.
Anybody want to go next?
I'll go.
Oh, okay. Alex, I'm gonna have you go next. This is, just stick with the stuff you like. It's not worth checking anything out new since everything was better back then anyway.
Oh, that is awful.
It's like a roast.
Where's Jeff Ross?
Patrick.
Getting over with. Go.
Patrick, you might not like yours right now. My culture has no bearing on what kind of art I make.
Tell people. God.
Samantha, is when making a film, the most focus should be on what the director gives, not what the audience receives.
Oh no.
And Andrew, last but not least, true competition can't come from digital spaces.
What? Wow.
I don't like you.
It can't.
Now, all of these, of course, and you've only met us in the last 20 minutes, we all feel that there's an outright lie. And I feel a few of you laughing right now because you're reading mine.
Wait, what's yours?
We can't see yours.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah.
If you can't see the screen right now, it is, yeah, you can mix belt and shoe colors. I wouldn't know the social or cultural context of that anyway.
Wow. Wow.
So I do want to challenge y'all to like maybe think of another one that you think is an outright lie about yourself that our audience can, examine as well, right?
Oh, I got one for me already.
Oh, perfect. Let's go.
Yeah, I am the most quiet, introverted person you will ever meet.
No, sorry, that was laughable. I'm sorry. Now, this exercise, I hope, will help all of you with taking something home and trying to decide on this with yourself, right? Now, this exercise is specifically so when somebody just meets you, you don't have to say a word and they will know it is an outright lie about you. This will help kind of with that brand authenticity building. Anybody else have any other ones like this? Okay,
think I have
Patrick,
one.
I do apologize, right? Because I feel like I kind of hit the nail like for real on the head. A lot of your art really does inspire, especially the Filipino and the Philam and just the Philip diaspora community at large, right? Why do you think you're sitting in that like discomfort right now about this lie?
Oh, one, it caught me off guard. I didn't know we were doing this segment. No, but two, I think a lot of it just comes back to, like, are you, because I'm Filipino-American, and a lot of it comes back to the thing, like, are you truly Filipino? Like, you weren't born there, you don't speak Tagalog, so are you, and you're doing a jeepney. Have you ever ridden a jeepney? Someone said that to me before, like, on Twitter, the mean space. Or X, whatever it's called, I don't care. But yeah, they said that, and I felt like, oh, I don't need to justify myself, but I will justify myself. Ha, take that. And so that always does come up. Even relatives will say that to you, like, oh, you don't know how to speak. You're not really Filipino. I was like, really? Really, dude? We're gonna go there? Okay. But for me, the artwork allows me to engage with it. To actually, oh yeah, I'm gonna do history. Do you actually know who made the jeepney? No, we read it every day. Why do we need to know? Well, let me tell you. So it actually makes me closer to my culture, because I didn't really grow up there, but I have to do the legwork. And I have to really dig deep, and I want to. Like, I'll ask my grandparents, like, well, okay, so how did you grow up and stuff like that? And they're like, why are you asking this? Like, because I wasn't there, and I'd like to know. And so those little pieces of my culture, my history, I like to put in my artwork, because doing that is kind of therapy for me. It's fun. I love doing it. I love drawing it. But it's also a way like, oh, if I'm not Filipino, I'm making a sticker. I'm not Filipino enough. And that resonated with so many people. Like, so many people got that sticker, and I could talk to them about that. So those things connect me to other people, and it's great, because I don't need to, and I'm not out there to please everybody, but just connect with a few people, and that's great. That's the audience, that's the niche that we all talk about.
Andrew, if I could pick on you a little bit.
Sure.
So, culturally, we are Filipino as well, too. This will probably be the only panel that you'll see 3 Filipino dudes up on the same stage here, so.
Nice.
Andrew, culturally, I felt like you were connecting with what Patrick was saying, but also you're in the fighting game community, where competition is kind of seen for us culturally as like this double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, it is.
We have the idea of crab mentality culturally, but then we also have the idea that competition breeds, like better and better players.
Yes.
How do those two cultural pieces kind of like conflict with you at times?
It's when I was a younger competitor, it was the crab mentality to like. So one of the things that fighting game players will do a lot of times is withhold information, because you don't want your opponent to have that info, because if they have that info, that means they can beat you. So in a sense, you're keeping them down. That's that competitive advantage. But like you said, competition. You want your opponents to become better, because that's how you get better. Iron sharpens iron. It's taken me a lot of time to mature and understand that I'm not just going to be here just beating up and winning every time. No, if I really want to get better at what I do, I have to I got to share the info, and in a sense also create community out of that, because if I'm sharing the info with people, I've gone through countless matches where I've gotten the absolute snot beaten out of me, and also there have been times where I have beaten the absolute snot out of my opponent. We're talking 50-3 in terms of a long set, and it's not about after the long set. It's not about, all right, you lost to me. You're not on my level. Like, stay away from me because you're not on my tier. No. Instead, it's about pulling up. It's about pulling each other up and helping each other up the ladder, because if I'm sharing that and I'm empowering somebody, then I'm becoming better as well. They're going to become better, and we're going to challenge each other to become better.
Samantha and Alex, the next question is going to be coming to y'all in just a little bit, but to preface this right now, we're going to be talking about brand memorability and recognition. So this is going to be coming from the types of cues that you are putting out there. These are going to be visual, auditory, verbal, and non-verbal. And all of these cues are going to be building the space that your content lives in. This could be a small theme song, playing before your content, a logo associated with your work, a burgundy suit that you vacuum sealed yourself into this morning.
It looks great. It looks great.
It's a nice color, and I like the tie too.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Coming from Team Burgundy over there.
I know, right? I'm sorry, this might be a little bit inappropriate, but I got roasted yesterday. Somebody told me that I dressed like the really cool lesbian at your wedding.
Oh.
That laugh was too hard for me. Okay.
but you do know that.
Yeah.
They're always dressed well, so I get it. Yeah.
I felt like it was a compliment.
Yeah.
Right? That was the best compliment I could have ever gotten. Right.
Because they do dress to slay.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right. Samantha, I'm going to be starting with you first. So, but please, everybody, jump in on this one because there's only one question on this slide. What are your strategies to be memorable through the content that you make?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I always ask myself when it comes to making anything, why do I care about the project? And why should other people care about it? And it all comes down to what we were talking about before, bringing community together, what your branding is overall, like who you are. Sorry, what was the question?
Okay. So what are your strategies to be memorable through your content?
I mostly ask myself like what type of projects that I really want to speak on and what type of projects I want to produce. So a lot of my work, I produce AAPI work, LGBTQ, anything really like what is underrepresented. And I honestly, what's memorable? Social media. I use it a lot. Creating a social media page for your projects, for yourself, and just really identifying like what your branding is online.
Oh, okay. So making sure that you're taking it from the offline space into the online space.
Yes,
All
and
right.
making sure your branding online speaks to what is in person as well. So however you present yourself online, you're the same person because that is your branding. Like you never want to meet someone in person and then you see someone on social media and it's like totally unrecognizable, or vice versa, because it kind of confuses people. And you also want to get your messaging across as well. So like, and there's so many other different things too, like how you want your company to be named, your project, your credit name in general, what type of font and colors you want to do, like, and what I taught my students recently about branding is that colors are very emotional. So think about how these colors make you feel, right? So like, let's say for example, you're putting out an Indiegogo, like a fundraising thing, and you're making like a horror short film. Of course you want to do darker colors, black, reds, to identify the horror genre. But if you're doing like a warm, feel-good movie, you want to do warmer colors. So just really thinking about how visually what your online presence and even in-person presence make other people feel, and does that identify with your branding and if it matches your messaging as well.
No, I appreciate the thoughts on intentionality, right? Like making sure that your choices are intentional. Alex, I'm gonna have you go next. What are your strategies to be memorable through your content?
I think the thing for me would be consistency, but not in the you have to do the same thing every time. Like so often online we see where one person has whatever the bit is and then that's all people want to see or expect from them. And I think it's okay to realize we're not just one thing. We're humans, we're all these different pieces, but the consistency that flows through it, right?
So I'm really glad that you brought that up because
I triggered a trap card.
you did. We do tend to speak a lot on panels together, and we do have an example about your wedding ring that we had a little bit of an issue with. If y'all don't know, or if this is the first time you're meeting us, Alex and we're celebrating 17 years together and 9 years married this year.
Yay!
And at the very beginning of our content creation block, not the very
that big
beginning,
story,
but
yeah.
a little bit into it, I proposed to her in about 2015, and there was a bit of an issue with your wedding ring.
Right. So the thing was, we didn't talk about being in a relationship in any of our podcast stuff. We kept it we're three friends doing a podcast and we're having fun, and it was all secret. We didn't hold hands at conventions. We just kept it all very separate. And this was a million years ago when it wasn't as social media tied to things, so we didn't have to worry about having the mixed messages. And when we got engaged, we decided to announce it on the podcast. And literally that podcast, all of a sudden, all these comments, before that we'd get comments, oh my gosh, great speaker, love that she's getting into the pop culture space, love that she's learning, all this stuff. All of a sudden it was, oh, well, that's why she's on the show, just because she's with that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, they're sleeping together, and that's the only reason that she's in this space. And it instantly changed how people perceived me, how people interacted with me. If we were trying to get interviews, I could get interviews from anybody. I lack shame, it's a real problem. And so I can just walk up to somebody like, hey, let's see, what are you gonna do? You say no, I've lost nothing. But you say yes, and I have an interview. So I just go up to anybody, didn't care, and ask them, if they do stuff. And before, I got so many yeses. The moment I had a ring, all of a sudden, all these guys stopped agreeing to interviews. And it was this realization that, oh, this ring has a different meaning. And so I actually didn't wear an engagement ring when we were at conventions. And then when we got married, I was like, you know what? This is who I am. This is my life. And if people don't like it and they don't want to interact with it, that's on them. That's their loss, not mine. But it took me a while to have that strength to realize that I can just like I have no loss if they say no, they're losing out by that same lack of interaction. So that's on them now.
Really good.
I do want to add to that as well for my own, from my side for this also. I feel at times that our brand together does surprise and suffer from it a little bit as well, that we weren't honest with our audience that we were together as a couple. We had an incident yesterday even where Alex and I were speaking on the same panel. And we always sit this far away from each other because we have certain hand signals to tell each other, okay, this is what we got to do next on stage, right? And there was a little bit of a flub, and then Alex had picked up on that flub, and it was incredible how she had handled it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, great job at the end of the panel. And I kissed her on the forehead, and somebody gasped on stage, or really right off stage, right? And so I was like, oh yes, people tend to forget that we are a couple. And,
Well, even by name, right? I go by Alix Catherine.
and I go by JPG, but we both
We
share
have the same last name, but if you notice, we've separated those last names so that we're still individual people, and that started back then. And then at that point, I was like, you know what? I really like going by Alix Catherine. I'm going to keep it. But we did have to have a real hard conversation about, okay, am I going to adjust my brand? Are we going to have that same last name? Because even though you go by JPG, you announce your name on stage fully first. And so it became this thing of, okay, are we tied in completely with our brands, or do we have individual brands that can also intertwine? And that's where we came up with the idea of keeping separate last names, because a lot of people, I mean, anybody who knows me in this room knows me, and they know JPG, but they also know how we interact together, and we can support each other and build each other, but we're still individual people, and we wanted to keep that.
We have about 15 minutes left in this panel, and I wanted to make sure that I was giving time for the audience And I have time for the audience. If you want to ask specific questions to our panel as well, too, we'd love to have these. It sounds like we have one right here.
So I'm curious when it comes to, say, like your interests and skills seem like incredibly diversified. What do you do about like the brand just seeming to not really have much in terms of like consistency because you're just so far spread, jack of all trades kind of a person?
Gotcha. Okay. So for our audience, the question was when your skills are so diversified, how do you zero in on a brand? Would that be a fair summarization of it?
Or at least just manage that difficulty.
Managing the difficulty of zeroing in on a brand when your skills are so varied. Team, did we want to?
I feel like that's my own struggle, period. In life.
Yeah. So you are currently struggling with this,
Yes.
you feel? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And Patrick, I think you had something.
As a visual artist and creative, you can do and jump around to different styles. As a freelancer, you have to because that's how you pay the bills. That's how you get another job. But as an artist in Artist Alley, if you're doing too many things, people don't know kind of what to do with you, where to place you. Like, how do I do this? Even some jobs, if your portfolio is too diverse, an art director will go, that's cool, but what am I going to hire you for? What position am I going to put you in? So I'm not saying you need to flatten out all your skills, but you do want to pick one to say, this is the one that I want to be known for so that it opens the doors for me, like, oh, this person can do this and that. And then I think you slowly, like, well, I can branch off and do this and that. Behind the scenes, it's going to be beneficial to you because you can do all those things. But to an audience, it can be very overwhelming. You know, think of movies that you like. The director, you know, oh, they do this certain style. Cool, cool, cool. You know what to expect. And then they'll branch out and do something random, but you'll still go watch it because you know they've done good stuff. Yeah. And so that's the thing, as I see it, is you build up your credibility and your in your audience that they go, oh, damn, they did all this, and now they're trying something different. I think I'll give that a chance because they did all this so well. Let's see what they do here.
Yeah. If I may add to that real quick, the other avenue that you could potentially go to is being more of a generalist. So as I said, I've struggled with that in my own social media. So instead of me being, I'm a dancer, I'm a content creator, I'm an actor, I'm a lighting designer, I'm an engineer, I just put performer. So it kind of embraces all of that so then people can kind of see the kind of work that I do as a massive thing. So that also might kind of help kind of finding the broader term of what it is that encompasses all of your skill sets.
Oh, and then, I'm sorry, you had...
I think Andrew wanted to jump in.
Please.
Yeah, again, I'm also struggling with that same thing because I'm in a variety of venues. I'm a fighting game commentator. I host anime events at conventions. I've done tabletop, and I'm doing card games now. It feels like, you know, the hands in the cookie jar and you're split. I like Patrick's idea, actually. One to kind of centralize on, but you're not giving up on the rest of them. So when I would stream on Twitch, it was a lot of fighting games. It was mainly Third Strike. That's what I was known for. But I would find ways to branch that out to other people, making an off comment about, oh, like, aside from the fighting games, like, what are we doing today? Like, did anybody catch like the latest episode of Solo Leveling? Please, no spoilers. Haven't watched it yet for anybody wondering. But you know, it's those things where it serves like a launching pad. It's something to ground and like a base, and then from there, everything else that you do, it's all branches, but it all can come back to that sort of same that base. So that's something that's worked for me. Like, a lot of people just know me as Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. That's all he effing plays. But you know, you're more than that. And I've been able to branch out and find out that a lot of my other friends are into other things now because I was able to start with that base and move forward there. So something like that might help.
I want to have a quick thank you to Justin Keyson over here from the Nothing New, a remake podcast. He'll be helping us out with getting the microphone around to y'all right now too. So big thank you to Justin. Please, the next question.
This one's specifically for Andrea, as you kind of touched on it a little bit, but you know, mentioned having that grounded base, so to speak, to kind of like foundationally. Naturally you found yours through fighting game community, but you know, this could also apply to the panel. How do you find what's going to be your foundational, ground level, base level stuff to kind of go with? Because it sounds like for me, I'm a multi-passionate. I'm also trying to learn fighting games and Tekken, so it's like interesting. But I mean, it's just, how do you find that base? It
is something that I'm willing to invest myself in. Samantha really touched on this point, and everybody on this panel touched on it. It's that authenticity. It's that you love what you do. And there's a quote from Mike D'Antoni, NBA coach. The ball finds energy. And what I mean by that is when you're putting your energy, you're investing your energy into your base, it's going to find energy. And you will, it takes time. You're really not gonna be an overnight sensation. It's not, I mean, it happens. Invest in yourself, invest in what you're passionate in, and you're going to find your like-minded people that also share that passion. It starts small, it can grow big, but know that you're doing it for you and you enjoy it the most. You know, that's where I think you want to start that base with passion.
It's what Makey says, hell yes. Unequivocally, hell yes. Like if you haven't done it in a while, hell yes. Oh,
Heck yes.
And being patient with yourself too, I think, is a #1 thing. Because I think as creatives, like it's just so hard to be kind to yourself, and you're just kind of always comparing to yourself to other people as well. So just remembering that passion, remembering the why, and just keep going at it.
We have another question over here, and then we have one in the back as well. Perfect. Yeah, you'll agree. And then somebody. Okay, got a couple more over here. All right, I'm going to try my best. Also, I'm going to make this offer for myself, and our panelists can offer as well too. We'll be right outside of this door to ask any sorts of to answer any sorts of questions for y'all. So don't worry, I will be available. Some of us will be available after this as well. But please.
Awesome. So for your respective brands, how did you reach your core audience and fans? And maybe as a follow-up, did you have to make any strategic changes in order to find them, or maybe once you found them, you took in some feedback or signals in order to refine your brand?
Can I start on that one?
Sure.
So my first brand,
Oh God.
our very first podcast, it was meant to be introductory, where the boys would kind of talk about pop culture stuff, and I don't know why, I was inspired by Alex from Wizards of Waverly Place. And so I was going to be the brat who talked back to them and made fun of it, and I realized all I was doing was isolating myself from that community I was trying to be a part of, which again was the opposite of my intention. And so I had to shift my brand over to introductory and actually being welcoming, hence the welcome party, and making a safe place for people to exist. And so once I found the brand I wanted, then it was, okay, how do you find that community? And for us, it was building that community. If I don't know where I'm meant to go, I started just making friends, getting to know people. How can I support them? Anybody we introduce to another person, it's literally, oh, this is so-and-so, this is their project, this is what they do. You should really meet this person. That doesn't benefit me. That benefits the two people I've introduced, but it's showing that I do really love this community and these people. I'm not here to be famous. I'm never going to be famous. I fully understand that. I will make my money from my 9 to 5. And this is the place where I get to love the people around me, build the community around me. And like Andrew said, it's, can I reach down and pull the next person up? And as you're doing that, you're really building that community around you. And so many people on this panel have their own communities. And now by sitting on this panel and us talking, our communities are going to start to merge. And we're going to keep introducing, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. And it's a full support system for each other, for our intertwined ideas and theories and concepts. I play in the TTRPG space. I have family members who are going through cancer right now. I have, I made a film over there with Samantha. We do all these things, we intertwine. I buy all your work, let's be real. I spent way too much money. We all intertwine and we'll support each other, and that's the biggest thing, is find that community and then build it up with you.
To get a little bit more granular with your question as well too, a lot of my brand has to do with education. But I found that, especially at the very beginning, I was talking about educational points with no points of reference for other people. And so I was talking about a lot of high-level stuff that is very useful, but if I don't give them that starting point, then I can't bring them to that level, right? And so I had to switch my my thought process and my strategy for my brand from education to accessible education. And that adjective is going to help when you are building that brand, because it makes you specific and targeted.
Yeah. Can I just add one
Please.
simple point? Also understanding the analytics behind your your social media, if you're using social media, to see who your audience is and who your base actually is. Because if you don't understand who's looking at your content, no matter what you create, it might not hit. So mine's mine's male 23 to 45. And so I'm going through.
Cynthia, we can physically see you, we get it.
But so in my switch and brand, I'm trying to switch my audience to be a little bit more well-rounded situation. So again, understanding your base and understanding what content that you're putting out there that they enjoy or dislike is going to help make your brand a little bit more stronger.
Yeah. I am gonna say that this is gonna be the last question, but team, if there's anybody that can hang out outside to answer questions or anything like that. Justin, do we have the last one?
Hi, I met a few of you yesterday.
Is that Tori?
Yep, it's Tori.
Hey,
Hi.
Tori. Hey.
I wondered, this was on a slide I noticed, it said likes dictate your present, but engagement dictates your future.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of related to that, and then also what you guys were just talking about, I'm curious to get your take on finding that balance of like, you know, doing what you love. You have to be passionate about what you're doing and kind of build your brand around that, but also, you know, if you don't have an audience for what you happen to love, then that's going to be hard to build a brand. So how do you balance and sort of reinvent yourself according to what maybe you're finding your audience is resonating with?
Yeah. So once again, the sentence, I just put it back on screen. It's likes dictate your present, but engagement dictates your future. The way that I usually talk about this with clients is that likes are like fast food, right? It's very immediate. It's there for you, and it gives you a sense of feeling and belonging, right? But likes don't tell you what to do next, right? And that's where engagement comes in. Say, for example, your comments on your videos, a buzz about your films, your Discord channel that you're building an online community on, things like that. So does anybody have any sorts of thoughts about this?
Yeah, I would actually try to go to community events. I'm sure there's some sort of like Facebook or Eventbrite or Instagram page that you can go to that's specifically geared towards what you're interested in. And I would just go and meet people there, honestly. And I'm also more on the introverted side. And I know it's very hard to like network and like talk to people, introduce yourself to people as well. So I'd always try to bring a friend to have that icebreaker.
I do have a quick funny story with Samantha. Samantha, when I asked her to be on this panel, her first email back was, "Are you sure?" And then I had to do this whole thing where I was like, "Samantha, this is what you've done. Like, I need you here, right?" But Patrick, you said you had a little bit of...
Oh, yeah. I know it's the name of the panel, and I know everyone uses the word a lot, but you don't want to look at what you do just as content. For me, it's a disposable word. It means it's kind of throwaway. I look at it, I put it away. So when you refer to what you do, what is the project that I'm working on? What is the artwork? What is this that I'm working on? You take a little bit of that ownership so that when you talk about it with someone and they say, "Oh, I like the content you create. Oh, what part? Did you like the artwork? Did you like the movie? Did you like the film?" You get more specific so it connects you a bit more. And I think that's the engagement part that's really important, is to make it special, not just to them, but to you, knowing that I'm not just putting stuff out there, just put stuff out. Yeah, I'll post memes, I'll post random stuff here and there, but I don't ever like to use that word too often to describe my work, because I feel like then it's like swipe, swipe. That's what's next, instead of let's pause. Oh, that's cool, let's appreciate it, let's talk about it. And I think that's important, whether it be online or in person. That's where the engagement happens, is where you pause to talk about those things. And you may not get 1,000 people liking or whatever, but if you get those 5 that you really engage with, you get those 5, and that engagement will last longer.
So as a wrap-up today, once again, this panel was put together by my consulting firm, InterMyth. I have a QR code in order to grab all of our information. I do have to also say, branding-wise, I love emails and I love following up on emails. So if somebody just sends me their information, please, please, please follow up with an email so I can place context to the messages that I am getting sent as well, too. I just want to say once again, thank you first and foremost to our wonderful Comic-Con programming staff.
Yeah.
And one more time, if we want to take a picture of this screen, this is going to be all the social medias that you can follow everybody on. If y'all wouldn't mind just going and write down the line to just say them real quick as well, too.
Yeah.
Alex, I'm going to start with you.
So you can find me at Alixy Galaxy, ALIXY, and you can find the Welcome Party if you want to check out my show, which just launched, at Welcome Party Pod.
Just my first and last name, anywhere, basically. And I'm in Artist Alley, table A07. My table number's not visible, but look for the pillar that says C21. I'm right underneath it.
Cynthia__Marie for Instagram and all other platforms, at Syndancer. I'm also, if I can plug this real quick, I just was featured in an article on I Had Cancer, if you want to see my entire journey, and I'm also going to be on another surprise podcast if you want to hear about cancer stuff.
Well, you can find me on most platforms, Andrew J. Alandy. It's my first name, middle initial, last name. And then for mostly fighting game stuff, just on the Bird app, it's Duralath, which is really, I don't know why I chose that name, but it's stuck with me for 20 years. I tried to get rid of it, and no.
Branding.
Exactly. There you go.
And you can find me on Instagram, Samantha K tan like the color. Yeah.
Thank you again for our wonderful panelists, and I hope you have a wonderful day today.